Hello, everyone. So today, what we are going to do, we are going to learn local values. How we're going to use locals and some of the basic way to declaring the local variables and using the values and when to use the local variable values. So the local value is assigning a name to an expression so that we can use in the multiple times within a module instead of repeating the expression. So if you're already familiar with the input output variable as we discussed, so we also use so like uh, as I mentioned already, so input variables you cannot put an expression. So that is why they introduce somewhere called a temporary values, so we can work around those values and then use it in the input variables. So similarly, we cannot do in the complex condition and the output variables as well. So that is why the local comes into the place as a handy. So because there is no expression constraint, and they can call multiple times, or we can call a local inside another local. So this is how we can use the local variables. So without wasting any time, let's quickly see some of the basic example using locals. Okay, so this is my so let me quickly create some of the file. So main.tf blank terraform.tf. We are not going to do loading any of the anything else. We just keep it as simple. Okay, let me go puts. So for the Terraform, we will use simple plain block, and for main, we are not going to do anything. And for locals, I think for local, let's say declare something like locals service underscore name. My service, and then so the owner of the service, let's say the user. Let me save this, and as we discussed already, we can use multiple times. Like, let me do locals again, and then I will use common tags. and within the tag I can use server service. Let's say use the same. So local dot service name. So we keep remember that when we are going to referencing, we will use the local, not locals. Keep in mind the local dot. um, so we can create as many as locals here and reference those. And now if we want to print out, let me go to the outputs and create output, and then now print local, and here in the value, what I will do, I will use local and this common tags. That's it, I think. So to run this program, as I mentioned already, I will use Terraform init. If say there is nothing to initialize but is initialize, and we are not going to use any kind of provider over there right now. So we'll keep as a simple now. So if I'm going to use Terraform plan, if you see there, let me apply, and then yes. So if you see they now the Terraform.tf state is created these value. Cool. I think this is all about how to use. So if you as you already mentioned, the local we can use in many places. We can use as local variables. Earlier I have used, I can use the local here. Above block can be used here. Also in the main file, in the output file, we can use local and reference as common variable. So in the uh, so if we want to create a variable, let's say, and then I'm going to use a variable block my where, and then I'm going to use the type where must be string, and in the default value I will use local dot server name. Makes sense. And now this value is here. I'm going to use in the output something like this, so that we will know print variables. So the value would be dot my var, and now I'm repeating the same Terraform and the variable length retain my var. So it's saying that variable not allowed. So say we cannot use here the default value. Interesting. Cool. So we cannot use the default value, but we can use in here in the output as well, but we cannot use in the variable. So the local when to use a local variable. So the local variable we have to avoid the repeating the same stuff again and again. So more than multiple values are constant, so we can put into the local. Also, we need to if you are overused, they can be very hard to configure and very read to read the configuration if you overuse those local variable as per the documentation. I think that's it for local. Thank you and catch you soon.